What if the person you loved most suddenly realized they were never truly over their past? And what if that realization came too late? Tonight's episode of Sullivan's Crossing delivers heartbreak, emotional chaos, and a shocking ending that could change everything for Maggie and Cal forever. Because just when it seems like love might finally win, everything falls apart. And trust me, no one expected what happens next. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving deep into Sullivan's Crossing Season 4, Episode 9, one of the most emotional and painful episodes of the entire series so far. This episode is not just about romance. It's about regret, second chances, and the terrifying realization that love alone may not be enough. And by the end of this episode, someone walks away completely broken. The episode opens quietly, but the tension is already heavy. Maggie sits with Edna Cranebear and Sydney Shandon, trying to process the disaster that just happened between her and Cal. You can see it on Maggie's face. She's exhausted, emotionally. Cal ended their relationship because deep down, he believes Maggie never fully let go of Liam. And honestly, he may not be wrong. Edna tries comforting her. She tells Maggie she shouldn't feel guilty for moving on with her life. But Maggie can't accept that, because years ago she made vows to Liam when they got married. And even though their marriage fell apart, part of her still feels tied to those promises. At the same time, across town, Cal wakes up after a sleepless night and finds Sedona making breakfast for him. Sedona tries to support him emotionally, but Cal is distant, cold, broken. She asks the question everyone is thinking, "Are you going to fight for Maggie?" But Cal shocks her with his answer. He says some stories simply don't get happy endings. And the scary part? It sounds like he truly believes that now. Sedona warns him he's making a mistake, but Cal pushes her away too. One by one, he's shutting everyone out. Back at home, Maggie stares silently at the divorce papers Liam filed. Beside them sits an old wedding photo, a memory from a different life. And suddenly, the episode takes us into an emotional flashback. Meanwhile, Liam visits the outpost and talks with Frank Cranebear. At first, the conversation seems casual, but then Frank reveals something huge. Cal broke up with Maggie. The moment Liam hears this, everything changes. You can literally see hope return to his eyes. And then comes the confession. Liam admits he still loves Maggie. In fact, he says he'd even move permanently to Sullivan's Crossing if that's what it takes to get her back. But Frank immediately becomes cautious, because he knows Maggie has already suffered enough heartbreak, and he doesn't want history repeating itself again. But what happens next changes everything. Because while Maggie is confused about her feelings, Liam sees this breakup as his second chance, and that makes the situation far more dangerous. Meanwhile, another complicated relationship begins heating up, Sydney and Amir. And trust me, this storyline is about to explode. Amir notices Sydney struggling emotionally after Maggie and Cal's breakup. He tries comforting her, saying relationships are messy. But the conversation quickly becomes personal, because there's obvious chemistry between them now, the kind that both of them are trying very hard to ignore. Sydney reminds Amir that keeping things professional was probably the right choice. But before the moment can go further, Rob suddenly walks in, and the energy changes instantly. Rob announces he's back and ready to work again, but Sydney immediately tells him about Maggie and Cal's breakup. Now Rob has concerns too, because he already suspects Liam's return is destroying Maggie and Cal's relationship from the inside. Meanwhile, Edna secretly tries convincing Frank they should interfere and somehow help Maggie and Cal reunite. But Frank refuses. He believes Maggie needs to make her own decisions now, even if those decisions destroy her. And honestly, that's exactly what seems to be happening. Later, Maggie visits Liam to explain everything that happened, and this scene becomes incredibly important, because Liam directly asks her, "Was Cal right? Were you holding back because of me?" Maggie hesitates, and that hesitation says everything. She finally admits Liam's return reopened emotions she thought were long buried. Liam apologizes for turning her life upside down, but instead of walking away, he suggests they spend time together, and Maggie agrees. At the same time, Rob visits Cal. Cal tries focusing on Ben Nelson's legal problems instead of his own heartbreak, but even Rob can see Cal is falling apart emotionally. The breakup still hasn't fully hit him yet. And then we see another emotional scene with Sedona. Cal apologizes for earlier, but Sedona reveals she's leaving town to reconnect with Chris. Before she goes, she gives Cal one final piece of advice. She tells him loving someone also means learning to forgive their mistakes. But Cal isn't ready to hear that. Not yet. Meanwhile, Frank reveals a major decision about the land. Instead of keeping it or placing restrictions on it, he decides to return it to the Mi'kmaq Nation so they can build a real community center. It's one of the episode's most meaningful moments. But while one relationship heals, another one begins falling apart completely, because Maggie and Liam go four-wheeling together. At first it seems harmless, but slowly you realize something feels off. Liam still sees Maggie as the adventurous woman she pretended to be years ago, but Maggie finally admits something heartbreaking. That woman was never real. She only acted that way because she wanted Liam to love her. And Liam is stunned, because for the first time he realizes he never truly understood her at all. But then, everything suddenly goes wrong. A dog runs directly in front of them. Maggie loses control, and within seconds, she crashes violently. No one expected what happens next, because this accident changes everything.
Maggie is rushed to the hospital, and the moment Cal receives the phone call, his entire world stops. Despite everything that happened between them, he still rushes to see her immediately. That tells you everything you need to know. He still loves her deeply. At the same time, Sydney finally confronts Rob about interfering in her life. She's furious that he warned Amir to stay away from her. Rob insists he was only trying to protect her, but Sydney makes something very clear. She doesn't want protection anymore. She wants freedom. And this moment changes their relationship forever. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Cal finally sees Maggie lying there injured, and for a brief moment, all the anger disappears. He's simply relieved she survived. Maggie apologizes emotionally, and it feels like maybe, just maybe, this is the moment they finally reconnect. But then the worst possible thing happens. Liam walks into the hospital carrying flowers. The second Cal realizes Maggie was with Liam during the accident, the walls go back up immediately. Without saying much, he leaves. And honestly, that silent reaction hurts more than shouting ever could. Later that night, Liam brings Maggie home and stays with her. Then comes one of the deepest conversations of the episode. Maggie finally opens up completely. She tells Liam that when they first met, he represented everything she dreamed of becoming. Confident, fearless, exciting. Being with him helped her escape reality. It made her believe life could become a fairy tale. But when Liam disappeared, that fantasy shattered, and the pain stayed with her for years. Liam apologizes sincerely. You can tell he truly regrets what happened. But Maggie finally realizes something important. The woman Liam loved doesn't exist anymore. Maybe she never really existed at all. Then comes the emotional closure scene. Maggie looks at their old wedding photo and gently tells Liam their story is over. Not because their love wasn't real, but because she's finally become someone different now. And surprisingly, Liam accepts it. For the first time in the episode, there's peace between them. Before leaving, Liam reveals he may accept a new job and leave town permanently. Maggie quietly tells him, "We'll always have Spain." And honestly, that line feels like the final goodbye to an entire chapter of her life. But what happens next changes everything again. Because now Maggie finally knows exactly who she wants, and she runs straight to Cal. The final scenes of this episode are absolutely heartbreaking. Maggie arrives to see Cal one last time, and this time there are no more doubts, no confusion, no hesitation. She tells Cal the divorce papers are signed, Liam is leaving, and after the accident, she finally realized the truth. When she thought she might die, the only person she wanted to see was him, Cal. Then Maggie says the words Cal waited so long to hear. She tells him she has only ever truly loved him. And for a moment, you think this is it. You think the episode is finally about to give them their happy ending. But then, Cal says something devastating. He tells Maggie that loving someone is more than simply saying the words, and he's no longer sure she understands what real love actually means. That line hits hard,
Because deep down, Cal believes Maggie only came back after losing everything else first, like he was the final option, not the first choice. Maggie looks completely shattered, and before she can even process what's happening, Cal quietly tells her to pack her things. Then he leaves, just like that. No dramatic screaming, no emotional music, just silence. And somehow, that makes the moment even more painful. This episode is really about identity. Maggie spent years trying to become different versions of herself for different people. The adventurous version for Liam, the safe and grounded version for Cal. But after the accident, she finally understands who she truly is. The tragedy is that realization may have come too late. Meanwhile, Cal's heartbreak feels painfully real. He loves Maggie deeply, but trust has been destroyed, and sometimes love alone cannot repair that damage. The episode also quietly explores freedom through Sydney's storyline. Both Maggie and Sydney are struggling against people trying to decide their futures for them, and now both women must choose who they really want to become. As the episode ends, one terrifying question remains. Is this truly the end for Maggie and Cal, or is there still one final chance left to save their love story? And honestly, right now, nobody knows. And that was the full breakdown of Sullivan's Crossing Season 4, Episode 9. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to subscribe for more deep movie and TV explanations just like this one. And tell me in the comments, do you think Cal made the right decision, or did he just push away the love of his life? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.